What's up, everyone? My name is Matthew Dale, and I am here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more. And there seems to be something of a little bit of a trend when we as guitar players start learning how to improvise guitar solos. I would say, generally speaking, most of us probably learn the minor pentatonic scale first. And then maybe after that we learn how to manipulate that to play the major pentatonic. And then maybe after that we might take a look at 7-note scales, so full major and minor scales. And then usually the thing that we all want to gravitate towards, it seems, again I'm speaking generally here, but a lot of us want to immediately dive into modes. And I guess the thought process is, I want my solos to be more complex, I want my solos to sound more unique, I basically want to take a better solo. And is using modes or thinking modally always going to give you that end result? Before we continue, warning, music theory alert. I'm going to be talking about some music theory concepts in this video. So if you want a really handy guide to follow along, download my Essential Music Theory cheat sheet. You'll find that linked in the description box below. This is a quintessential modal vamp that I'm going to pull up here. It is an A minor 7 to a D7. And if you know a little bit about modes, that probably screams Dorian to you. So whenever we see a minor 1 chord or a minor 7 1 chord to a 4 dominant 7 or a 4 major, that usually screams Dorian. And if we see this on like a backing track online, although I love backing tracks and I use them all the time, sometimes if they give like a suggested scale, they will just say, okay, there's Dorian, and use that as your soloing ingredients. So even though, yes, technically the key of this brief little song that I'm going to play here in a second is A Dorian, not all the notes sound equally good on top of the A minor 7 chord and on top of the D7 chord. Let me give you a little bit of an example here. So I'm going to play this track and loop it. So there's Dorian. That all sounds good. If I highlight a couple of very particular notes in this, play that up an octave. So I'm playing a G right now. The G fits really nice over the A minor, but it wants to fall to F sharp on the D chord. So let me just stop that here just for a second. So over A minor 7, we have a little bit of this discrepancy. There's A minor 7 with an F sharp. This could be called a minor 13 chord or a minor 6 chord. And it's a little bit crunchy. It's not as consonant as A minor 7. And if I play a D7, there's my F sharp within that chord. If I play that chord with a G on top, there's also a little bit of crunch there as well. So even though that's still technically correct in the scale, in the Dorian scale, different notes sound better on different chords. So really, what is the answer? What's the way going forward? How do we actually sound better? It's not really just about, let me find a new scale shape or a new scale sound to play. We really kind of have to take a little bit of a deeper look into what's going on in our song, in our chord progression that we're soloing over. And rather than look at an entire chord progression and say, okay, what's the mode I should use to sound better? Actually, looking at the individual chords will get you a clearer picture. What do I mean by this? If I just take a look at A minor 7, and if I look at the chord tones in A minor 7, we have A, C, E, and G. That's an A minor 7 chord. Now, what about if I take a look at a D7? Now we have D, F sharp, A, C. So if I combine all of those notes and I put those notes in sequence, I played A, I played C, D, E, F sharp, and G. That's 6 notes out of this Dorian scale. The only one that I left out is a B, which actually sounds really nice on the A minor 7. It becomes an A minor 9. And there could be my 7th note. So rather than think about what is the mode that I'm playing, if I just focus on chord tones, when I'm playing an improvisation, the mode creates itself. So again, here's what I mean. I'm going to go back to just A minor 7 to D7, and I'm just going to focus on chord tones. And that's going on to the next part, which I am going to talk about later on because of interesting things that are going to happen in this chord progression. So I'll stop there for a second. So what I did is I just played some very simple phrases, and rather than think about what is the overarching mode, I'm just focusing on the individual unique aspects of the chords. And when you do this, you start bringing out unique harmonic colors that are dictated by your chord progression. Let me put it this way, and this might make a little bit more sense, but when you learn a scale or when you learn a mode, that's like learning the alphabet. And if we think about communicating to one another, we don't just say letters from the alphabet in hopes that it means something to the other person. We make words out of those letters, and those words mean something. Well, if a scale is like just an alphabet, just groups of letters, then a word might be a chord. So when I focus on the unique chord progression at hand, I'm creating words through my phrasing rather than just babbling a bunch of letters. And babbling is good. That's how we start to learn how to speak, by babbling. If you think back, to infants just making noises. But just as we mature as human beings, and just as we want to mature as musicians and soloists, we want to turn those babbling letters, those notes, into words and phrases. Now here's part 2 of this, which really matters. I'm going to put this backing track up on my Patreon, and I'll include a PDF sheet music that shows all the chords very clearly. If I just sort of say what's going on, we've got A minor 7, D7, all of our Dorian stuff, A minor 7, D7, but now F major 7. So if I take a look at the F, I'm playing F, A, C, E, and if I put that into my overall scale of A minor something, the F replaces the F sharp. I'm no longer in A Dorian. And this is a big problem that I have with generalization. When I am talking generalization, we're saying, okay, well, this chord progression is in A Dorian, so I'm only going to think about A Dorian or A minor or A whatever through the entire piece of music. But when a more unique chord comes up, like in this case, the F major 7, and then after that I play D minor 7, which has an F natural again, not an F sharp like D7 had, then we need to shift gears. Now all of a sudden, if I'm thinking modally, I've got to kind of switch gears to F Lydian, which I could do, and then over the D minor 7, now I'm thinking actually D Dorian. And then after those two chords, the most unique chord of the chord progression comes up. It's E7, which is spelled E, G sharp, B, and D. So then if I take those chord tones, I put them on top of an A scale, now I've got a new scale called A harmonic minor. And that's what gives that tension to bring us back to A minor. So if I'm thinking about modes on top of the E7, now all of a sudden I'm thinking about a mode called Phrygian dominant. That's the 5th mode of the harmonic minor scale. But see, I don't need to think about an entire new group of 7 notes when I'm soloing if I just focus on the unique chord tones. I could literally take the A natural minor scale and then make alterations that fit on the chords I'm just thinking, what I'm thinking about right now is chord tones and filling in the scale notes around it. So here's a really good exercise to actually get this into your playing. I'm going to take A minor. The key, the overall key of this is A minor. Even though the modes change and certain tonalities change in this chord progression, everything is pointing back to an A minor chord. That's how to really understand what the key of the music is. So now I'm going to think A minor pentatonic. Great. Most of us are probably pretty comfortable with that. And what I'm going to do to get the other unique chord sounds into my soloing ingredients on A minor pentatonic, A minor pentatonic is going to be like the roux if I'm making a pasta sauce. It's just going to be the base of my solo. So A minor pentatonic, now unique chord D7. Next unique chord, F major 7. D minor 7, new unique chord. And then E7, I would say our most unique chord out of this. I'm going to play an E7 arpeggio. Now I'm just going to focus on 2 things when I play through this chord progression. Again, A minor pentatonic, so the pentatonic of the key, and finding individual chord tones on those certain chords. Here's what it sounds like. And so on and so forth. You can take this concept to ad nauseum. Now, I did something a little bit interesting because I've got 4 measures of this E7. Not only did I play the arpeggio, but I also filled in the gaps with the other scale notes around that E7. That can help stretch out an idea that you have. And really, what you're creating is the unique mode, but you're not thinking modally. You're not limiting yourself to a giant scale shape. You're finding unique tones that ultimately will make you sound better when you're playing over chord changes. So I hope you all found that interesting and educational. Once again, all the PDFs will be available on my Patreon, linked below. My name is Matthew Dale. I'm here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more, and I'll see you in the next video.